YouTube, what's going on, brother? Welcome back to a brand new reaction video. It has been quite a hot minute since reacted to one of the one and only Surkee's horror videos. I haven't reacted to one of his videos yet in around maybe, I think it's been like 2 to 3 months. And I saw him uploading this video around 5 days ago called SFM Creepypasta Public Restrooms. And looking by the thumbnail, it is giving me the heebies to the yeebers. So without anything else in the way, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. So sit back, grab something to eat or drink. There'll be a link down below to the original video and the channel. Go and support them some love. Without anything else in the way, let's get into it, shall we? As I said, the thumbnail really gave me the whole just big no for me. So let's just see how this goes.
It was late, right around 8 p.m. For November, this meant that the shadows of the night were already engulfing the world. It wasn't cold out, though. The wind was gentle and carried with it the smells of foliage, thanks to the various gardens that littered the campus grounds. I sauntered along the sidewalks while admiring the weather. I loved the night, especially when
it sounds like a Reddit story, you know what I mean?
They couldn't be seen from here, even on the clearest of nights, since the college was located just outside the city. A friendly squirrel suddenly crossed my path, coming mere inches to my feet before looking up at me and chattering as though I had done it a misdeed.
Hot take right now, and use a theory. I think whatever is in the thumbnail is this squirrel right here, aka a skinwalker. My god, that took me ages to say. It's probably a skinwalker. That's my prediction. I love his animation style, dude. I wish I could use
I stomped at it. The creature, rather than skittering off, lay flat on the ground. I felt that I could possibly kneel down and pick up the creature had I wanted to.
Okay, so it is a skinwalker.
However, I had been attending this campus for months, and
it's still alive.
Experienced that the little thing would run off just short of contact.
I said, I wish I could do SFM stuff like
I
this.
Continued on my way. I had a destination in mind and could not be delayed any longer. Just ahead, along the outer edge of the campus, was the only women's restroom left open at this hour.
You have a woman's restroom in the middle of the forest in this, what did they say, college or whatever? This high school, whatever it said. Why is it so far away? That's my question. Like, dude, anything can hide over here. Hello?
The campus itself usually shuts down early on Fridays, so I was lucky. There was at least one left unlocked, especially considering I had an hour's drive home ahead of me. Quite honestly, I didn't feel like stopping at a gas station for such a purpose this late in the day. Turning the last building, I finally arrived at the lonely structure. It could have served as a concrete outhouse in my opinion, but then again, I have no knowledge of such things.
That is the entrance to the back rooms.
It was just a small building with a single purpose. I looked behind me as a gust of wind caught my attention. The parking lot was a few yards away, surrounded by the flat green lawn of the college. The campus buildings themselves were dark and shadowed, most of which were no longer holding classes at this time. When I saw no one there, I continued on my way. The door screamed in protest as I entered, rust-covered hinges breaking away in a flurry. The sound reverberated in the small room. As was normal for bathrooms, the floor was linoleum. The walls, a bare white, and a single yellow light illuminated the 6 stalls aligning the back wall. There were only 2 sinks and a single roll of paper towels hanging above a trash bin. I passed by and, as per usual, chose the stall beside the handicapped. I always felt bad whenever I entered the handicapped stall, since it was designed for those who had trouble using the regular toilets. When I was younger, I took delight in the more spacious stall, but now I knew better. Regardless of popular belief, women's restrooms don't exactly smell better than the men's room. This time, it smelled worse, as though something had died and been left to rot in the small trash box along one of the stall walls. Knowing the sorts of things that would have normally been thrown in there, I didn't feel the urge to investigate and set my mind to finish my business. It wasn't until I was finished that I heard it, a slight gasping sound, as though someone with asthma was in the stall beside me. Not having heard anyone enter the restroom, I did the immature thing and looked. I leaned forward and tilted my head until I could see under the wall to my left, allowing me to peer into the 4 stalls beside mine. At first, I didn't see anything. They were all empty, so I figured the sound was probably coming from the handicapped stall beside me.
Oh,
Before
no.
I could turn my head, however, I noticed a pair of legs drop down from the stall at the far end. That's when I realized someone had been standing on the toilet in the first stall. The legs were bare, probably meaning the owner had on a dress or shorts. As for the missing shoes, I wasn't certain. People don't just wander the city shoeless, not that I knew of anyway. Relieved at finding the culprit, I sighed and closed my eyes, ready to sit up and leave when something else happened. A head popped down from the last
Oh,
stall,
no.
obviously
What
person
the
of eyes.
hell,
Her
dude?
cheeks and eyes were unnaturally sunken in. Her eyes, however, appeared to be pure black. Now, I was 4 stalls away from her and making all kinds of judgment calls on the girl when I realized I had just been caught peeping at her. This was rather embarrassing, so I immediately sat up, blushing furiously. Should I apologize? Do people do that in public restrooms?
Apologize, get the hell out!
I shrugged off the last question, figuring it was just a figment of my imagination. They probably only looked that way because she was so far down that I couldn't see her properly. She most likely had some really dark brown eyes or something. I stood prepared to leave the stall and promptly walk my embarrassment off when I heard something else. Something unusual. It was a shuffling sound, as though someone was sliding under the stall walls. The hairs on the back of my neck stood on end, realizing how strange the situation had become. Why would she be climbing under the stalls? Was she autistic and lost? Maybe she wandered away from her guardian and decided to play in the women's restroom. It was never locked after all, even after hours. I decided I'd call the police and report her in case she was a missing person. I also didn't want to scare her off since she looked sickly and the poor thing was probably starving. So, resolving myself, I sat back down and leaned over, only to find the girl looking at me from 1 stall closer. I originally was going to try and get her name, but stopped dead as my eyes took in the sight of her. Her eyes were black, all right. Black as coal.
Is her
I could
head
not identify
severed?
the rest, but at that point, I didn't want to. This thing wasn't human. Fear gripped me as I sat up. My nerves were put on edge and my breath had begun to quicken. I had felt as though my heart would pound right out of my chest.
Get the hell
If I had tried to run
out!
out of the bathroom, I would have had to run past that thing. I closed my eyes as images of it leaping upon me and tearing me to shreds started to fill my head. How could I get past it? I don't know how long I had sat there panicking, but I did notice when it started moving again. Although this time I heard thumping sounds, as though it were hitting the walls gently. My heartbeat skyrocketed as I had tried to remain calm, happy to have already done my business. For a moment, I considered just running past it. It was my only chance since I had no other options.
Run!
Then I realized something. It stopped. I began to strain my ears to locate the creature by sound, but heard nothing. The gasping noises were gone, and I no longer heard the thing shuffling or banging along the floors and walls.
Is it above her?
Was it still there? I had to make my mind up quickly as I contemplated the possibilities. Eventually, I manned up and took one last look at my stalls.
Dude.
I glanced to the left to find the thing missing. A wave of relief washed over me in time for a shuffling sound to my right to catch my attention. Before I could process what it was, I whipped my head around, fearing it to be staring back at me just inches away from the stall I never bothered to inspect, only to find a pair of hiking boots. It took me a moment to register this. There was someone in the handicapped stall. When did they get here? Oh, who cared? There was someone else there with me. I felt at ease knowing I wasn't alone anymore. As usual, my sense of relief was short-lived once I noticed the gasping sound coming from inside my stall. I froze for what seemed like an eternity before I managed to glance up.
Run! What the hell?
I slammed so hard into the stall door that the lock broke clean off as I stormed through the exit. I wanted to run to my car, to drive home, to curl up in my bed and pretend it was all a bad dream. and I would have if it weren't for the girl I nearly ran into.
Wait.
She gave me a strange look before going into the restroom. I should have said something, maybe warned her of what awaited in there. But as I stood, once more straining my ears to hear the slightest of sounds, silence fell upon me. A few more moments, and I began to piece everything together. Realization flooded my thoughts as things began to make sense.
What?
Whoever was in the handicap stall must have had their feet pulled up when I first walked in. They were probably recording the sounds, hoping for screams, or worse, they were filming me in the stall. The other girl was probably some really well-dressed actor who was there to scare the crap out of any poor soul who wandered in.
Yeah, actor,
Well,
yeah.
Screw them. I turned on my heels and hurried to my car, cell already out. I informed the police of the dirtbag who had been filming me in the stalls. They said they'd look into it, and I was able to drive home worry-free. The next day, I arrived on campus only to find it locked down and swarming with cop cars and officers. A girl had been murdered in the women's restroom last night. Estimated time of death, 8:34 p.m. It was the girl I had run into. Apparently, there had been a series of murders in the city. A man had been spotted on some of the sites leaving the women's restrooms where the girls were found. He would apparently wait in the handicapped stalls until the girls headed for the sink to wash their hands. Then he would come out from behind them and slit their throats. Whatever that thing was in the bathroom. It had saved me.
Wait, what? That thing saved you from... This thing right here saved you from basically a serial killer. With his boots right there. Okay, well, I thought it was gonna be a complete, like, copycat situation of that thing after you, but I guess he was a savior, like a guardian angel? You know, I am very confused how he actually come up with these stories, or if it is a Reddit story. Overall, I can give it a total 10 out of 10. It did give me really the whole heebers-jeebers, if you can say that much. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this video. Hope you guys have an amazing rest of your week. Take care, stay safe. See you guys soon. Bye-bye.